What's good, everybody? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark, Ron, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Truly do appreciate you making us part of your day each and every day. We know you got a lot of choices out there. YouTube stream is up and rolling. Thanks to all of your help this week, adding to our YouTube subscriber total. We appreciate it. If you check in on the YouTube stream, normally I am just totally casual, like picnic casual, watching games on the couch casual. Today I'm a little bit business casual / a little bit of formal wear because we've got the Bourbon and Bacon Fest coming your way tonight after the show. Will I be running into you out there? It is at the Foundry at Judson Mill, and it's taking place after the show this evening.
Question: how much bourbon can we drink before it makes us look bad in front of our bosses? What's the over-under on bourbon samples?
8
samples?
Oh,
8 samples is like 2 drinks.
Well, they give them to you in like the little medicine cups. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
You get the samples. I'd say 8, Diesel.
8.
I'd say as long as you're in the single digits, you're okay.
Well, I'm going to have to hide about 10 then. Okay.
We will soon see, my friends. We cannot wait. Bourbon and Bacon Fest, the Foundry at Judson Mill. Will we be seeing you guys out there tonight? Can't wait to see the wifey and what she's got cooking for me tonight in terms of the outfits. So, by the way, I mentioned this to you because everything I have on, I got at Smith & James. Everything, okay? Jeans, belt, shirt, jacket, everything, all at Smith & James Fine Men's Clothing. And look, guys, when you're working with me, you're not working with a whole lot, okay? But if they can make me look halfway respectable, imagine what they can do for you. Imagine what they can do for you. All right, Smith & James making it all possible. All right, my friends, coming up on the show today, we'll do a little MLB check-in, a little bit really late in the season, and there's a piece of news that's the first in a while that isn't the best news for the Atlanta Braves. It's actually not the best news for the Atlanta Braves. Okay. We've got that coming up on the show today. We've got Brent Beard coming your way at 4 o'clock. We've got an NFL Stat Fest heading into week number 3 in the National Football League. We've got the top 5 at 5. We've got Cole Bryson getting you set. Are we there already? Week number 5? Week number 5 in the high school football ranks. Cole Bryson will be there for you at 5:20. And, of course, Diesel and I make our picks, picking the biggest games of the week in Wise Guys Wisdom coming your way at 5:40. I am 7-2 on my bets this year. 7-2. All right. That's like pushing 80%. I know that can't continue. Okay. But at the same time, I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling good. Ryan Horvat will help you make some money. There you go. There you go. He'll help you make some money when he'll join us at 6 o'clock p.m. this afternoon. Along the way, you guys can take part. You can give us a ring at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FANFONE. And you can hit us on the carpro.com text line at 71307 to start your text with the word fan. And away you go on the show. It looks like it's Madcraft's birthday. If so, happy birthday, Madcraft.
Happy birthday, Madcraft.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Are you coming out tomorrow, Sunday, Madcraft, to the Carolina Kickoff Show? You sure you're not going to be too hungover to come out to this Carolina Kickoff Show? He was too hungover to come out to the first one.
Oh.
It was an 11 a.m. show. I understand, but I'm still disappointed. I'm still disappointed. Madcraft, you can make it up to me on Sunday, 2 o'clock.
Great to see you, buddy. Happy birthday to you. Let us get started, my friends, with this today. If Florida State beats Clemson tomorrow, all right, and by this time tomorrow, 24 hours from right now, you might have the answer, all right? You might know. At 3:05 and 30 seconds tomorrow, you might know. okay, whether this is true or not. But if Florida State beats Clemson tomorrow, my friends, there is a changing of the guard that has happened in the ACC. Make no bones about it. I understand that Clemson's had the year where they didn't win the ACC, okay? Pitt won that year over Wake Forest. But by and large, okay, this is Clemson's conference, all right? The rest of the conference members are paying Clemson rent because Clemson owns them. And when I have called the ACC the All Cupcakes Conference, what I have meant by that is when we go to the ACC kickoff, I'm going to bring the other members a dozen cupcakes. Clemson doesn't get one, okay, because they haven't been a cupcake program. They've been legitimate. They've been solid. They've been awesome. There is a passing of the torch that will take place if Clemson does not win on Saturday. Make no bones about what is at stake here. Now, provided that I stick to my 8 samples limit, I should be large and in charge and boisterous and full of energy at Death Valley tomorrow. I'm not going to lie to you, Diesel. It's a little bit of a quick turnaround for me to have Bourbon and Bacon Fest tonight and have to get up and get over there for a noon game tomorrow. But we're going to do our A-level best.
You act like you won't be the only person hungover in that stadium for a noon kickoff tomorrow. Come on, man.
We will soon see. We'll see how it plays out.
I'm sure more than once College Mark went to an early kickoff Florida game after getting schwasty the night before.
So, Diesel, remember, I was on the field as part of the Florida Gator band. And one night, Diesel, there was a Friday night, and you might imagine like what the temperature is like on the football field there, Diesel.
The temperature of Mordor?
Yeah.
Hot.
Yeah. Wearing a full band uniform on the field, and Diesel, I started blacking out on the field. I had had too much to drink the night before. I had not had enough water before we were on the field the next day, and things started to turn a little fuzzy on me, a little sideways, real fast. But guys, this is, you can't, there is no way to overstate this, okay? This game tomorrow is as big as it gets. Is the ACC still territory that belongs to Clemson? Or does it now belong to Florida State? We're going to get that answer tomorrow, all right? Now, next season, it's at Florida State again. The Seminoles will not have Jordan Travis, who is collecting Social Security. He's so old. This is his 6th year in college. 6th, all right? It's just unfair that Jordan Travis gets to throw against freshmen and sophomores from other teams. But them's the rules. You got an extra COVID year. It is what it is, And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to check it out. I'm not being hyperbolic, folks, okay? Ownership of the ACC is at stake. North Carolina is an above-average ACC school. Duke seems to have a good and new head coach, but I think the biggest reason they're better, they're improved, is because they have an NFL-caliber quarterback, okay? But the standard bearers of this conference, there's Clemson, unless Florida State takes the torch tomorrow. Who is going to lay claim to the ACC crown? At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to drop us your score predictions. All right? We will highlight the most accurate score on Monday. We will humiliate the least accurate score on Monday. 71307 on the carpro.com text line is where you can get to us on the show. Our scores will be there for you at 5:40 p.m. this afternoon. In this rivalry, Clemson has won 7 in a row. Over the course of this season, opposing quarterbacks are completing just 52.1% of their passes against Clemson. Cade Klubnik, however, is only completing 38.2% of his passes under pressure. That, if you're Florida State and you're seeing that stat, he struggles under the blitz. Let's light him up early. Let's light him up often. All right. Let's hit him. Let's get in his head. Let's make him make mistakes. Will Clemson be able to protect Cade Klubnik against Jared Verse and company. If you are asking yourself, what are the keys to this game tomorrow, you might as well start right there, okay? Because there is no more important question on Clemson's side of the ball than that, okay? Can they protect Cade Klubnik? I'm not worried about Florida State's linebackers. I'm not worried about Florida State's secondary, okay? My only concern is, what's the blocking going to be like up front? Now, you don't need me to tell you, Clemson probably has the best linebacking core in the nation. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Barrett Carter, Wade Whoopass, lineman Xavier Thomas, Tyler Davis, all high-end NFL prospects, okay? Jordan Travis, offensively, has transfer wide receiver Keon Coleman. Coleman has 170 yards receiving through 3 games and 4 touchdowns. And 6'4" Johnny Wilson, who has 11 catches for 209 yards. Trey Benson is one of the nation's leaders in yards after contact at the running back position. Really difficult dude to bring down. Has 164 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns on the season. Let me tell you what tends to happen in games like this, okay? At the end of this game, you might be running a little smack as a Clemson fan, saying, well, wait a minute, I thought their offense was way better than ours. Why did we have more yards than they did? Why was the yardage total close? Well, it's because your defense is so much better than theirs is, right? So all things being equal, that may be a wash. You know, Clemson's defensive advantage versus Florida State's offensive advantage. And I want to make another thing really clear. You know, the organic players that started, if Florida State just ran with the players that began their college careers at Florida State, Clemson would win this game by 30 points, okay? The reason why Florida State is a threat to Clemson tomorrow is entirely because of the transfer portal. Jordan Travis, transfer. Keon Coleman, transfer. Jaheim Bell, transfer. Western Michigan defensive lineman, transfer. The entire reason they are a threat now is due to the transfer portal. I don't believe them to be a national championship contender, especially after seeing them last week against Boston College, especially when considering that they fall short in the blue chip ratio. Without the transfers, their blue chip ratio is 38%. With the transfers, their blue chip ratio is 42%. Okay? But make no bones about it. Florida State wins this game, whether consciously or subconsciously, Clemson, you have passed the torch to them as the standard bearer in the ACC. But if I could also leave you with one thing on this game before we make our predictions today at 5:40 p.m., it's this. Do not let anybody tell you tomorrow that Clemson beating Florida State is an upset. Don't let anybody tell you that garbage. There's a reason that game isn't eligible in our upset pick standings. There's a reason there. I have seen way too many media entities. Last night after the show, on the bottom line of ESPN, it said, is Florida State on upset alert? The hell out of here. Is Florida State on upset alert? That's an insult to Clemson. The game is in Death Valley. If Clemson loses the game, it's an upset. Okay? If they lose. So, spare me this whole, can Florida State be upset? There shouldn't be a poll now anyway. We've addressed this. You shouldn't have any polls until October. So pay no attention to the lack of a number by Clemson's name. Pay no attention to the high number next to Florida State's name. The game is in Death Valley, okay? And I don't care if the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing there. If the game is in Death Valley and Clemson loses, that is the upset, not when Clemson wins, all right? You guys know I have issued the challenge for you as Clemson fans to make Death Valley great again. The last time there was a big noon game at Death Valley was last November 26th against South Carolina. You don't need me to remind you how that game turned out. The atmosphere sucked. It was arrogant, beachy, like a picnic. You guys acted like you were there for a party, only it ended up being a funeral, and like there was no chance Clemson could lose the game. All right? If you have a voice Sunday morning, you did not yell loudly enough. Okay? Tomorrow is a day where vocal abuse is okay. All right? Your own vocal cord abuse. That is okay. Just don't tell me it's an upset. Tomorrow is not an upset if Clemson wins. I don't care what Vegas says. Follow the upset pick rules. Okay? That game is not eligible for the selection. Diesel, let's bring you in. Agree or disagree that the torch, who carries the torch in the ACC, is on the line for the winner of this game tomorrow?
Well, it's absolutely on the line for the next 365 days until you play again. We have, how many times do we bring up Clemson and South Carolina rivalry elements, and people say, well, you've only beat us 3 times in the last 20 years, but you beat us 2 times in a row. Well, then they're holding the torch. They're holding the torch. All that matters is who won last. All that matters is who won last. Clemson fans do it. South Carolina fans do it. You all bring up the all-time record because you know what? The all-time record makes you feel better after your team just took an L. All that matters is who won the most recent game. That's it. So if Florida State wins that game, number one, they've got all this positive momentum going in the right direction for them. Clemson seems to have negative momentum, or at least stagnation right now, appears to. I'm not saying they are going in the wrong direction. But Florida State, if they win this game, it catapults them into the national stage. They're finally the ACC foe that's able to be the better of Clemson, not just get the better of and beat them one time in a one-off game. They will be perceived nationally as better than Clemson right now. And that's all that matters.
Clemson fans, unite with me under the following commonality. We love to loathe Florida State. We love to put them out of their misery. Okay? We unite under a common flag, under a common cause. And that is death by the Seminoles. 71307 on the carpro.com text line is where you can get to us on the show. Let's see here. Texter says, Mark, give me Colorado plus 21 against Oregon. A lot of wasted picks there. Texter said early this morning about Texans versus Jaguars. Okay, I don't understand that.
This texter got me confused with Lonzo, which I feel like I should be insulted by. He was texting in earlier, running some sort of smack about Lonzo's pick in the Houston versus Jacksonville game.
Okay.
I guess saying that Lonzo only picked Houston because he hates Trevor Lawrence and Clemson, which we all know he does. He says it out loud as many times as he gets a chance to. But he confused me with Lonzo, and he put my name on it twice. And I'm like, I don't think you're talking about who you think you're talking about.
Texter says, if Clemson loses tomorrow, almost every goal for the year is lost. No college football playoff, no ACC championship game. The rest of the season will be about building for 2024, and there will be a lot of soul searching to be done. That text comes in from the Clemson Oculus. Dabo will tell you that their number one goal is to win the state, right? Then win the conference, yada, yada, yada. But the reality is, the big goals for the year, it's always a goal to beat South Carolina, okay? If you lose this game, there's nothing you can do to have a successful year. Nothing. Relative to expectation, okay? Nothing you can do. If you lose tomorrow, Clemson, 2023 football season is a wash, and it's a wash 3 weeks into September. Realize that. Understand what's on the line here, okay? Realize that. Let's see here. The chosen one is coming in with his pick. He says Clemson 38, Florida State 24. Dave Tyner says Clemson 31, Florida State 27. Texter says, Mark, I get the point you're trying to make, and I'm a Clemson grad, but if we win tomorrow, that would be an upset. Not a huge upset, but still is. Texter, who do you allow to define what an upset is to you? Las Vegas? You have the mindset as your fan base. You don't let other people tell you what to do. It's not an upset if you decide that it's not an upset. Okay? Like, it's an upset anytime Clemson loses in Death Valley.
I reject your reality and I insert my own.
100%. 100%. Hurricane Jeff is going Cincinnati over Oklahoma by 14 points. Let's see here. Spur Daddy says, go Seminoles. I will never understand fully all of the interest in watching your rivals' games. You know, like Clemson fans, the team they watch second most are the Gamecocks. Gamecock fans, the team they watch second most is Clemson. I've never lived in a place where that's the case before, ever.
Supports my theory that Clemson and South Carolina fans are exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
You are all exactly the same.
Spur Daddy says 31-17 Florida State over Clemson, and Scott McIlvain going with Ole Miss +7 against Alabama. We will flip the script. We will look at Mississippi State, South Carolina, getting you set for the second must-win game in the upstate today. That's next, my friends, and this is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Who will be carrying the torch in the ACC this time tomorrow? The game will be ending right about now. Clemson fans, will you be reinvigorated? Will you be burning the midnight oil into the wee hours Sunday morning in celebration?
Or is this the last 24 hours that you're kings of this conference?
Right.
Yeesh.
Right. Or, let's also, not put this past us, Diesel. Or is this, the most significant step in the recession of Clemson, in the downturn of Clemson? Is this, is this confirmation that Clemson isn't what they used to be? I don't think you can understate this, folks. I don't think there's any language or any adjectives you can use that would be hyperbolic in this game. Texter says, where do you post the college upset standings? I will do that, Texter, either today or this weekend. They'll be on the Fan Upstate, Twitter, or Facebook. But you can always rest assured I will reveal the standings Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. in the 4 o'clock p.m. segment. And if you would like to go and hear those, it's all on the website and on the app. All you got to do is go to thefanupstate.com or the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Go to Wednesday's show, 4 o'clock p.m. hour. It's the first segment in the 4 o'clock p.m. hour every single Wednesday. We've now reached a day and age in technology where you don't have to be listening live to get it, right? You can get it on the website. You can get it on the Odyssey app. And I will do my best to post it either later today or this weekend as well. Let's see here. Texter says, LSU used to be Death Valley. Saturday, Clemson needs to claim Death Valley from LSU. Needs to be so loud, the players' feet are vibrating. Hashtag let's go. Brandon Keeler says, Mark Ryan, look at you looking fancy, brother. Look, man, I just got to try to look like my wife didn't make a bad decision by selecting me.
Remember, guys, he's no interior decorator.
That's right.
Interior decorators put like sofas and drapes around, right?
Yeah, but they also decorate these. So I'm incapable of doing that. I'm incapable of decorating myself. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I mean, that's what matters, right? Is I understand what I understand what I meant.
I think you mean fashion designer. No fashion designer.
71307 on the carpro.com text line is where you guys can get to us on the show. Let's talk a little Mississippi State and South Carolina. All right. There is every chance, folks, that for one side in this rivalry, tomorrow could be a fantastic day. And for the other side of this rivalry, Clemson and South Carolina, tomorrow could be a morgue. There's every chance that could be the case. Yesterday on the show, we asked you, what is the most likely outcome this weekend? Both Clemson and USC win. Okay, South Carolina and Clemson both win. 23% of people selected that option. That was the second most common. Both teams lose. Just 14.4% said that option. Clemson wins and South Carolina loses. Just 14.4% said that option. Clemson loses and South Carolina wins. The most often answer, South Carolina, 49% of respondents picked that one. Gamecock fans, how happy are you going to be if you beat Mississippi State and Clemson loses to Florida State tomorrow? Clemson, how happy are you going to be if you beat Florida State and South Carolina loses to Mississippi State tomorrow? Folks, it is D-Day. And I think Shane Beamer knows, and I do think South Carolina wins tomorrow. Official pick and prediction coming your way at 5:40 p.m. tomorrow. 5:40 p.m. today. I'm sorry, and Wise Guys Wisdom. That's when the official pick is coming. But I do really, really like South Carolina's chances at home. Beamer seems to understand when the moment is massive, right? He gets right now, he grasps that this is a massive moment for his team. And that any model that has the Gamecocks doing anything close to what they did a year ago, right? The mark of success this year is 8-4. Any model that has that has them not sliding to 1-3. Realize, folks, if South Carolina falls to 1-3, they'd have to go 7-1 the rest of the season to match last year's record. Okay? Look, the tiffs that Shane Beamer and I have had with one another are well chronicled, are well documented, right? At the same time, part of the chip on the shoulder that I have, that he has, I know who he is, okay? I've got a feel for who he is. He's not going to let the Gamecocks lose this game. Now, it's interesting. Mississippi State in this one, replacing 4 starters in the secondary, okay? Will Rogers, their quarterback, was on every all-SEC preseason team, first or second preseason all-SEC. I'm watching last week. I'm like, is that Will Rogers or Mr. Rogers back there for Mississippi State? They looked awful. Mississippi State had 9 consecutive plays against LSU that went for 0 or negative yardage. 9 consecutive plays, okay? I mean, I'd like to think that if Lonzo was the offensive lineman, Diesel, Rob, and myself were playing, that we could manage to gain an inch in 9 plays. All right? I'd like to think that's the case, but not the case last week. Mississippi State looked very much the part of the second worst team in the SEC last week. I thought that was supposed to be Florida. Guess not. The Bulldogs are ranked last in total offense. The Gamecocks are ranked last in total defense. So the million-dollar question in Columbia tomorrow night is, naturally, what gives? What gives? Last in total offense. You didn't know how soon, how swiftly the loss of Mike Leach, rest in peace, would be felt. Can you imagine what Mike Leach thinks about his offense featuring Will Rogers, ranking last in the SEC at offense? If Mike Leach was still alive, that offense would be top 3 in the SEC right now, guaranteed. But without him, you know, the X's and O's in Mississippi State count for more than the Jimmies and the Joes, because the Jimmies and the Joes aren't that great there. You need a Mike Leach to maximize your potential, to make chicken salad out of something that clearly isn't chicken salad. When you consider that you've got Spencer Rattler going against a secondary that has 4 new players in it, okay, I think Rattler throws all over the Bulldogs, all over. You get the evening kick, 6:30 p.m. on the SEC network, okay? You've got Shane Beamer promising that they're going to utilize Nick Harbor more in the passing game this week. No Juice Wells, who is out, okay? But you do have Xavier Legette. You do have Nick Harbor. Maybe the running game can get on track this week. But even with the defense struggling, and the Gamecocks are last in the SEC in that department, you're going up against the worst offense that the SEC has to offer. Okay? I do like South Carolina to win this game. If I am wrong, hide the eyes of the women and children, because it is about to get fugly this year. You guys know what fugly stands for? It's about to get fugly this year if the Gamecocks cannot beat Mississippi State at home. All right? According to anybody, that's the second worst team in the SEC. You got them in your ballpark, okay? In my SEC Power Poll right now, the Gamecocks are 9th. Mississippi State is 13th. But I do believe that while I have South Carolina 9th, I believe the Gamecocks can play with anybody. I'm not sure who I'll pick when Florida plays at South Carolina. The Gamecocks might have the best quarterback in the SEC. I thought that was supposed to be KJ Jefferson at Arkansas. Might have the best quarterback, all told, in the SEC. But, Gamecock fans, your must-win game tomorrow isn't any less urgent or dire than Clemson's. Okay? It's very, very much the same. All right? So I better not hear a single Gamecock fan spew the nonsense again that you'll take a loss as long as Clemson loses too. You've graduated from that, right? You're not saying that BS anymore, are you? You'll take the loss to Mississippi State tomorrow as long as Clemson loses too? Losers mentality. Losers mentality. Graduate above and beyond that. All right? There's 2 acceptable scenarios for you tomorrow as a Gamecock fan. Win and Clemson loses. Win and Clemson wins. If you win, tomorrow's a good day. Clemson's success or failure should have no bearing on how quality your day is tomorrow, your Saturday is tomorrow. 71307 on the carpro.com text line is where you guys can get to us on the show. Let's see here. While I'd like to see Clemson win this weekend, unfortunately, I do not see it happening. Texter says, doesn't matter who they're playing. Any day Clemson wins and Clemson loses, South Carolina wins and Clemson loses is an ideal Saturday. The bigger the stage, the better the day. I'll be happy if Clemson wins tomorrow. Don't give one damn what Coot U does. That's the right mindset. Good for you. Good for you. So how come everybody else in the upstate cares so much about what the rival is doing? Let's see here. Texter says, Mark, when Notre Dame beats Ohio State and Mississippi State beats U of SC and Clemson pounds FSU, I'm going to need you to do a wellness check on Lonzo. If all that happens, Texter, I will be sure that I am up at 9 a.m. to hear the start of the Rob Brown Show. Mississippi State beats South Carolina. Notre Dame beats Ohio State. Clemson beats Florida State. I will be sure that I am sitting there ready to roll to hear Lonzo's tears on Monday morning.
You know what he would do. He would just sit there silently. He wouldn't talk about it.
You know, guys, this is one of those weekends where you've got to give credit, right? Like if Florida State wins, you give credit to them. If Clemson wins, they've earned credit. If South Carolina, stays alive, if they stay alive, they deserve credit. Okay? Like there is credit to be had here that conclusively will be had here. And by this time tomorrow, Clemson fans, you'll know if you're still in it to win it this year or if it's batten down the hatches until next season. Time to hibernate until next season. What do you think Diesel and I are hoping for being in the engagement business? We want Clemson and South Carolina to be relevant, okay? I've come to like many of you guys. I don't want to see you unhappy, okay? I don't want to see that. But you also know that this is the show that is going to be always and totally honest with you about what we see. A Carolina win, texter says, is always the top priority. Clemson losing should be nothing but a cherry on top. Amen, texter. But we've had Gamecock fans, Mongo among them, say that, you know, he's known, as a Gamecock fan, he'll take a Gamecock loss as long as it means Clemson also lost. You know, he'd rather have that sometimes than the Gamecocks win. And I think, man, that is a losing mentality right there, man. All right. I've got a stat for you that does not bode well for the Atlanta Braves come postseason time. And it's the only stat that I found that doesn't bode well for the Braves come postseason time. And I've been looking for them. And I'll share that with you next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. And we are the Fan Upstate.
He's awesome. No.
So just about everything is coming up roses for the Atlanta Braves. And I said just about everything because I wasn't looking for any stat today that spelled doom for Atlanta. But I just might have found one. Okay? So anyway, folks, let me start by giving you the current odds to win the World Series this year. Okay? The current odds to win the World Series this year. It's really interesting. And as you look at this, right, as you look at the standings and where these teams are and what what projections we have for the end of the year, it's interesting because the Atlanta Braves have the best chances of winning the World Series. According to Fangraphs, okay, right now the Tampa Bay Rays have an 8% chance. I'll share with you anybody that has at least a 5% chance to win it all. The Rays have an 8.3% chance. The Orioles have a 5.3% chance. The Houston Astros have a 13.6% chance. Mariners fall just short of that number, 4.9%. The Braves have a 27.6% chance. The Phillies a 6.3% chance. The Brewers a 5.5% chance. And the Dodgers a 12.6% chance of winning the World Series. All told, my friends, what does that number mean? Second best odds to win the World Series are the Houston Astros, 13.6%. If you multiply that number by 2, it's still less than the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves have twice as good a chance to win the World Series as any other individual team in Major League Baseball. That's the numbers per Fangraphs. However, I have tracked who's won the World Series for about the last 20 years. And there is a prerequisite, right, that World Series winners almost always hit. The problem is it blows out of the water a popular adage in Major League Baseball that pitching wins championships. Here's the reality. You've got to have an A offense. You've got to have a B pitching staff. Okay? Those teams winning the World Series are averaging 5 runs a game or more and have a team ERA under 4. Now, a team ERA under 4 isn't great, okay? I mean, it's good. It's not great. And that's all you have to be. But you've got to be elite on the offensive side of the ball. So who meets the criteria for runs scored a game? Who is averaging 5 runs or more scored a game? The Atlanta Braves, the LA Dodgers, the Texas Rangers. The Atlanta Braves are having one of the best offensive seasons in MLB history this year. The Tampa Bay Rays, the Houston Astros, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Chicago Cubs. How about on the ERA side of the ledger? Okay, who meets the criteria of having an under 4.0 ERA? Seattle, Toronto, Milwaukee, Tampa Bay, San Diego, Minnesota, Cleveland, the Yankees, and the Houston Astros. But remember, you've got to have both. You did not hear me mention Atlanta in that second criteria. There are 2 teams who fit both criteria, the Houston Astros and the Tampa Bay Rays. All right? They fit both criteria. Now, Atlanta is oh so close. The team ERA is 4.01, and they've got to be under 4. The Dodgers are oh so close. The team ERA is 4.06, and they've got to be under 4. On the run scored side, right? You have some teams that are super close on the run scored side to completing the duet, right? To completing the double feature. You've got Boston and Seattle are really, really close there, right? On the run scored side. And Philadelphia, really close there on the run scored side. But they're not there. And they need to be there in order to win the World Series. So it might seem weird to you to say, but if you track the historical World Series winners, if the Braves can just drop that team ERA before the season's over by 0.02 of a point, that's who wins. That's the criteria for winning the World Series. Okay? Right now, the Astros and the Rays meet the criteria, and the Atlanta Braves do not. How will it play out next month? We've got Heisman Trophy voter Brent Beard joining us next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. You notice how, like, if you listen to the start of an hour on this show, you'll hear a lot of the same refrains, right? You'll hear a lot of the same energy, a lot of the same statements. You know why that is? Because when I go to a restaurant, I value consistency, right? Like if I'm getting a great product there consistently, time after time after time, I want to know what it's going to taste like, right? We obviously every show is different, but we want those familiarities to you, that consistency to be there for you. And we always shoot for excellence. Here's how you guys can be a part of the show this hour. You can give us a call at 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. And the carpro.com text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. Joining us right now, Heisman Trophy voter, First Coast News in Jacksonville. It is Brent Beard time, my friend, the man, the myth, the legend that has his own fan club, joins us right now on the show. Brent, good afternoon, my friend. Always good to have you on. If Clemson wins tomorrow, it will make what statement? Same question on FSU side. What statement will be made with a W for either side?
Well, for FSU, it would mean that they have broken new ground since they have not beaten Clemson since basically the middle of the last decade. It would also mean that there might be a new name in town as far as the ACC championship is concerned. Certainly would be a feather in Mike Norvell's cap, to say the least. On the other hand, for Clemson, if they're able to win, I think it might. I think it would certainly enhance possibilities for the playoff. It would continue the dominance that Clemson has had, particularly over FSU, and I think it would give the fan base probably a lot more hope than they've got right now.
Brent, how much is Florida State's pedigree, or in another word for that being brand power, responsible for Florida State being number 4 in the country right now? Obviously, they didn't look particularly fantastic last week, though they have looked good earlier on this season. Do you believe that at this juncture, number 4 is warranted?
I do. Obviously, they got a lot of cachet from beating LSU and dominating them in the second half. But they got a lot of attention, obviously, because, and you can trace this almost every year, their quarterback is back. They've got the most starts on the offensive line of anybody in the nation. They have got some incredibly good playmakers, and particularly a wide receiver. And they are looked upon now as the team that has really made a lot of success from the transfer portal. So yes, I can certainly see where the media has hopped on the bandwagon, and they are riding with Florida State right now. Now, what Florida State's got to get around. Remember, they had the letdown last year where they lost consecutive games, were able to rebound as the season went on. At least for right now, I can see where and why they will be ranked that high. I mean, they started in the middle bottom of the top 10 anyway, so they're going to go up a little bit with the wins. But I'm telling you guys, they were very fortunate. They could have lost that game at Boston College last week.
Certainly the case. Heisman Trophy voter Brent Beard joining us here on the show. Brent, the phrases are making chicken salad out of chicken spit and putting lipstick on a pig, right? Those are the phrases here. How is Mississippi State with Will Rogers last in the SEC in offense when that quarterback is first or second team all SEC in every preseason magazine? Is that Will Rogers or Mr. Rogers playing quarterback back there for the Bulldogs? And it's sad because I think I know the answer. There's no more Mike Leach. Still, how are they last with that guy at quarterback, all the preseason SEC accolades, Brent?
They made a real mistake, Mark, in not knowing what changing the offense would mean. Will Rogers is going from really being a part of this air raid offense, throwing it to the backs, which are basically, you might say, are running plays for Mississippi State, to where, I mean, in a nutshell, on Mississippi State's first 16 plays last week against LSU, that they gained 7 yards. So Kevin Barbay, the new offensive coordinator, has installed more of a pro-style offense, and frankly, it has just not worked. They are Mississippi State's 117 in passing offense at this point, and they look abysmal against LSU. Now, a lot of that was LSU because LSU may be the best team in the conference, but I mean that's an astute observation. When you change offenses, when your quarterback's used to something else, sometimes it works real well, sometimes it's miserable. And this is what happened. And I'll give you a very quick example of something that happened with this. Gary Hollingsworth, when he was at Alabama in 1989, was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. Well, Alabama had a coaching change, so Gene Stallings comes in. Hollingsworth goes from what basically at that time that we know today is a spread offense. He goes from behind center, and frankly, there were games. I'm not sure Hollingsworth could have told you his name. He was so confused, and frankly, in a microcosm, that's what's happening in Mississippi State.
Brent, the spread of Colorado-Oregon is 21. If Colorado beats Oregon, it sends seismic shockwaves through the sport. If they lose big, it throws some cold water on the Colorado hype. But what score would you say, what point differential would you say still keeps the Colorado ember burning and keeps them right there on the tip of everyone's tongues?
Well, I would say probably 7 to 10 points, something like that. And I'm not sure they'll be fortunate enough to do that. I mean, they've got to face some reality at some point, and that's coming probably in the next few weeks with Oregon and Southern Cal. So the real thing here for them is your depth catches up with you. Travis Hunter is obviously out after that ridiculous, vicious hit that he got from Colorado State. So it's really a matter of how close can they keep it in these next couple of games, and that's not going to that's not going to get rid of what they've done and what they've accomplished, but I think it's going to bring some reality back to it. And look, in the beginning of the year, we were saying they'd be 3-9 or 2-10 or something like that. I mean, they're probably still headed for what, guys? 6-6, maybe 7-5, which would be still a tremendous jump in expectations that they would have a poor season in what will be a season that they could frankly probably celebrate.
Brent Beard joining us here on the show. Brent, you have been steadfast in your approval of Billy Napier at Florida,
Yes.
Whereas I have been more on the fence. But I think we both agree, Brent, that, according to Gator Nation, the arrow was ever so slightly pointing down on Billy Napier heading into last week's game. And I don't know if I've ever seen a single game provide more of a narrative shift than that game did for Billy Napier. Now everyone's back on the Napier train again. Can you speak to the impact of that for Florida? We've said this week, Clemson has their D-Day tomorrow. South Carolina has their D-Day tomorrow. They cannot go to 1-3. But Florida's D-Day, Brent, was last Saturday because there was no model for Florida making something of this season that didn't have them beating Tennessee.
Well, it just all really came together. And being there, having a chance to cover that game, I mean, the atmosphere was electric. What they did is they played within themselves. And if they could have had that game plan against Utah, they might be undefeated right now, although Utah is a better team. Let's be honest about that. And Tennessee may not be as good as we think they are. That they may be taking a step back, and some who predicted. But here's what they did. They ran the ball basically twice or more than what they threw it. And against Utah, they threw the ball 44 times. They ran it 21. Well, if they're going to have success, they've got to reverse that. And Graham Mertz has played within himself, 75% completions. That's been very impressive. I'm curious what you think about Trevor Etienne, Mark. I mean, this guy is obviously his brother plays for the Jaguars, but 172 yards. He was incredible. But I will still say the biggest change in Florida is their defense. And I am very, very high on Austin Armstrong, 29 years old, when I have ties and tennis shoes older than he is. But the reality is Yeah, and look, I'm not saying they're going to run the table, but I will give you this. If they're able to go to Kentucky and win next week, there is a chance that Georgia and Florida, or Florida and Georgia, depending on your preference, comes to Jacksonville with one loss between them, and I cannot begin to tell you what that height would be if that is true.
Brent, everybody needs a good pair of cut the grass shoes. Every guy knows what that is. They get a little ratty.
Yes.
You move them from the closet to the garage. You only wear them when you cut the grass. I want to take an early look at some coaching shifts, Brent. Who's impressing those who make these decisions through 4 games? There's 3 that a lot of teams have played to this point, and who is starting to wear their welcome thin?
Well,
or is it just too early on all of that?
It's early, but Mark, I'm concerned about Sam Pittman of Arkansas. I like Pittman. I think he is a really good fit for them with all his ties to the school. But and he can't help all of this. But in 31 seasons in the SEC, they've only had 7 winning SEC records. And they looked awful last week at times against BYU. KJ Jefferson got sacked 4 times. Rocket Sanders has not played, or he's played very little because of an injury. And they've got to face LSU this weekend, and I don't think that's going to come out good. But because it's the Golden Boot and because they have a lot of rivalry and history there, that game is usually closer than we perceive it to be. So I'm going to say the first one that comes to mind would be Pittman. I don't think they're going to do anything about that right now, and I think they've got to take a hard look at it. And look, maybe because they're in the sometimes, guys, it's just location. You're located in the SEC Western Division, which is one of the hardest ones to win at in any conference. So I really hope it doesn't happen, but I'm beginning to wonder if they were to get blitzed by LSU, and then they're not going to fire him. But you really do wonder if that talk would really speed up and the seat get warmer.
The SEC, Brent, has played in all but one of the last 18 national championship games. The SEC has won 13 of the last 17 national championships. I've got a 2-parter SEC question for you here. Number 1, do you take the SEC or the field to win the national championship this year? And who is the best QB in the Southeastern Conference?
I'm not sure it's not Jackson Dart right now that's playing the most efficient of anybody, that he is equally as a threat to run as he is to pass. Now, that's probably not who the Alabama defense needs to see tomorrow. And look, I'm not saying he's going to be, but if Graham Mertz if he played every game like he did against Tennessee, you kind of look there too. But I would probably say, it's funny you brought that up because we've had some discussion about that this week, and his name has come up. You still got a lot of quarterbacks who are who you're working with. At this point, I might go with the field because there's still Georgia's still. I think some of it's because they're bored and they're complacent. And South Carolina really played well in the first couple of quarters, but I just don't know, guys, if the problems they've had off the field, these injuries at running back, they've now got Amarius Mims out on the offensive line. He's going to be out for several weeks. At some point, does that catch up with them? I mean, they've got Auburn coming up next week at Auburn. I'm not saying Auburn will win the game, but strange things happen there in that series. So I would probably go with the field right now. And I mean, look, if Georgia's getting in the playoff, if they run the table and their schedule, and they are, I just want to see anybody beating them right now until they get to the SEC championship game. So yes, that could change. But with the playoff expanding for next year, if the SEC misses this year, then they'll be the last year in a long time.
Brent Beard, Heisman Trophy voter, joining Diesel and I right here on the Fan Upstate. All right, Brent, I'd be remiss if I did not get some picks and predictions from you. Who do you like in some of the weekend's biggest games? Let's start right here. Florida State at Clemson. Clemson's won 7 times in a row. We'll kind of do this, Brent, rapid fire style. I'll go through 4 or 5 games with you, see what you think.
I'm still going with Clemson at home.
Wow.
That defense still is incredible. And see, I think they may play twice. And Florida State will win the championship game. But for that's a demon they've got to exercise for not beating them so long. But there's just still something about being able to run the ball and play defense that you can still win with.
Next up, we've got Colorado and Oregon. You surmised earlier. You surmised earlier that you didn't think it was going to be especially close.
No, I think Oregon wins by at least a couple of touchdowns. That doesn't mean that Colorado can't play well, but right now they are not where Oregon is, and I think that will show tomorrow.
How about Ole Miss at Alabama? Ole Miss, a very trendy upset pick over this way.
They are, and I understand that, frankly. And I'll pick Ole Miss in the game, frankly, because if Bama's going to run for about 175 to 200 yards, you got to not have any turnovers in order to win the game. But if Ole Miss gets ahead by, say, 10 points, I'm just not sure Bama's able to catch up right now.
I can't believe that. That's in Bryant-Denny, Brent. You grew up covering Alabama. How did Alabama's QB position get here?
It has been a nightmare for them. I still think Ty Simpson is, in the long run, their better quarterback. And they've got a freshman by the name of Dylan Lonigan, who I don't know if he will see the field, but a lot of the people who cover Alabama say he may be their best quarterback. So, but at this point, I don't know if he'll get into any games.
And how about Brent, Ohio State at Notre Dame? You know, like it's easy to say Ohio State's got better talent, but Notre Dame has Sam Hartman, and they're playing at home.
Yes. Well, and they've got Alt on the offensive line. They can also run the ball. I normally would pick Ohio State in this game because of their defense and because of their wide receiver room. But I'm with you on this. I think the quarterback trumps it right now. I think Hartman's that good, and if they can keep him upright throughout that game, that would be a humongous win. What would it not for Notre Dame and particularly for Marcus Freeman? But would it shock me if Notre Dame won? I mean, Ohio State won? Absolutely not.
Glad you're doing well, buddy. Love the texts back and forth during the Gator game. Brett, I don't know if you knew this, but I was probably pretty slow to respond last week because I was on CBS when you were texting me. But I had no TV in the downstairs studio. So, like, Brent, you didn't know this. You were my television. You were letting me know what was going on with Florida, Tennessee, my brother.
I'm delighted that I could help. Absolutely. So but glad you were on. I know that I know that's exciting, but listen, Mark, that would almost be like watching a NASCAR race and keeping up with all the games going on during that time.
It's impossible. It's really difficult to do, man. Really difficult to do. And then, Brent, you're trying to focus, and all your buds from college are blowing up your phone and everything. And, like, who's texting me? Is it the CBS producer or is it my buds from college? It's impossible. It's impossible. But great catching up with you, bud. I'm sure we'll text over the weekend, and we look forward to having you on next week, okay?
You too, guys. Thank you much.
All right, take care. Take care. All right, folks, one thing that we have not addressed about this game is the legacy question. The legacy question for Dabo Swinney. We will attempt to do that next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Definitely appreciate you guys making us part of your day on a Friday afternoon and evening. We will be, the wifey and I. You heading out, Diesel, tonight?
I'll be there.
Yeah, Diesel will be there.
That's why I put on my finest gray polo.
There you go. Diesel will be there. The wifey and I will be there. Will we see you guys out at Bourbon and Bacon Fest tonight, the Foundry at Judson Mill? I've got my Sunday Smith & James best on right now because, look good, feel good. Feel good, have bourbon good. That's what we're doing.
Can you have bourbon?
A little bit. Yeah, Diesel. Believe it or not. Here, check this out.
It's gluten-free?
I looked that up yesterday. Because I wanted to make sure. I don't understand this, Diesel. This is way above my brain in this area. I have the 2-year-old mental capacity that Brago does. Okay, yeah. Your dog. But evidently the distillation process takes the harmful parts of wheat out of bourbon. So even though it's made with wheat, which is gluten, I'm able to have it. I am not smart enough to understand what all that means.
Is there a food or beverage, Mark, that triggers a reaction in you, but it's so good that you're like, it's worth it?
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
Oh, yeah. Diesel.
Like, by consuming this that you're going to have a bad evening.
Yep.
But it's worth it. You just got to do it every now and again.
Diesel, you're going to say I need to do better than this, but when it's taken away from you, there is no better than this, and it's mac and cheese. Okay? Like mac and cheese. And what happens to me, Diesel, is it's somewhat comical. My stomach bloats so big, it's like a hot air balloon. Okay? When I have it. All right? So it's like it's like the sheets are way up here, and not because there's any hanky panky going on, but the sheets are way up here, and it's because my stomach is bloated. But mac and cheese, when that's taken away from you, Diesel, it's brutal.
The only thing that's ever given me that feeling was Da Bomb hot sauce. The first time I ever tried it, it bloated my stomach that way. But this is my hottest hot take of the day.
Okay.
What most people consider mac and cheese, and I'm talking plain macaroni with cheddar cheese on it, sucks.
Well, I agree. Yeah.
Basic from the box mac and cheese that so many people grew up. Maybe you subsisted on it when you were in college. A lot of people do. That is awful. It is truly awful.
Well, I won't go that far.
I will. This is my statement. This is not your statement. This is my statement. I will go that far. Basic ass mac and cheese sucks.
Yeah. To any of you guys that have food allergies or intolerances, what is the thing that you find yourself cheating on? Like you're not supposed to have it, but you do. Like don't do it with things that'll kill you. Like I know that gluten's not going to kill me. It's just going to make me feel wretched, right? But like, if you have a peanut allergy, you don't need to be having peanut butter.
I'm not supposed to be drinking bourbon, but I do it anyway.
There you go. What is that for you? For me, it's mac and cheese. And like every once in a while, I got to throw down some good chicken fingers, man. Like I know they're breaded, I get it. Every once in a while, grilled chicken just doesn't cut it. It just doesn't cut it. You need that extra fry in your life. So my friends, I thought this was interesting on Clemson and Florida State. And I've been tracking this because it's interesting to me. You guys know that ESPN has this thing called the Football Power Index. And you can go to ESPN.com. You can go to Clemson, Florida State. Click on the page for that game. It'll bring up the odds for that game. I've been writing down what the odds are for that game, and I've never seen an odds line change as much as this one has. On 9/11, a week ago Monday, that's 11 days ago, Clemson had a 26% chance to beat Florida State. On 9/14, which was last Thursday, Clemson had a 28% chance to beat Florida State. On 9/16, in the evening time, last Saturday, Clemson jumped to a 33% chance to beat Florida State. On 9/18, which was this Monday, they had a 36% chance to beat Florida State. And I checked again yesterday, and darn if that number hadn't gone up from 36% to 43%. I've never seen that happen before. Barring like some super stud Heisman Trophy winning quarterback is now injured, I have never seen that happen. Clemson's chances of beating Florida State have gone from a week ago Monday, 1 out of 4, 26%, to last night, 43%. And at this rate, are they going to be above 50% by the time kickoff comes around? You've heard me say that there is no, if the only upset that can happen tomorrow is if Clemson loses. That's the upset, okay? Clemson winning in Death Valley, it's an insult for anyone to say Florida State was upset. You're playing in Death Valley. That's an insult, man. It's only an upset if Clemson loses that particular game. But what are your theories as to why those odds have changed so much? Here are mine. Number one, Florida State's performance last week against Boston College. Some would argue they could have, maybe should have lost that game to Boston College last week. Looked very, very human. Was a look-ahead game. I think Clemson's going to get a much better Florida State than Boston College did. Number two, Jordan Travis's shoulder. All right. Banged it up. Was not 100% then. Is not going to be 100% tomorrow. Okay? Whatever percent he is, given that he's not 100%, that affects the odds, right? And then number three for me, just a general sense I have that Clemson's talent is maturing, right? You've got Tyler Brown, and they've needed a wide receiver to step up, and I don't know why it isn't Antonio Williams. I don't know why it isn't Bo Collins. I don't know why it isn't Adam Randall, but it's not. It's Tyler Brown and his band of renown. And he is the guy that's stepping up. Will Shipley stepping up. Cade Klubnik playing a little bit better. The offensive line starting to look a little bit more cohesive. Defensively, Clemson's talent stepping up, right? Number 8 in the nation on defense. So why have the odds changed? That's why the odds have changed. Diesel, I get the sense, man, that, a week ago, there wasn't a lot of hope that Clemson could win this game. And I firmly get the belief right now that a majority of Clemson fans are expecting to win tomorrow.
Yeah, sure they are, but where's everybody talking about it? Where are the callers? Where are the texters? Where are the people in the YouTube thread talking about Clemson going to win this game, talking about specifics? We get the daily cast and crew of people who reach out to the show, but I don't think that thank you, P Digits. You just put the word Fink in my mind because he just texted Finkel is Einhorn. I don't get it. I think there's a quiet apprehension among Clemson fans because they're just not talking about it.
Well, yeah, and I'm doing a lot of talking. I know that I'll probably be picked up by freezing cold takes tomorrow if Florida State wins, Diesel. That's fine. We haven't even made our picks yet, so I don't even know if I've said anything that's freezing cold takes worthy. But our picks come your way 1 hour from now. We will share with you who we've got Clemson, Florida State tomorrow. To what degree is Dabo's legacy affected by the events of tomorrow? You've heard me say on the show today, guys, I don't think you could possibly exaggerate how important this game is. If Dabo loses this game, okay, now we're going to look at the positive, but let's start on the negative side first, okay? If Dabo loses this game, no playoff for the third year in a row. Very fair at that point to say Clemson is not what they used to be as a program, right? Has Dabo lost his touch? Does Clemson, and I don't think Dabo is in any danger of being fired. I don't think Dabo's on the hot seat, but I do think there's a level of pressure there. Because if they lose this game, Clemson fans enter next season with a bit of a negative taste in their mouth. And if Clemson finds themselves the same place next season that they will this season, should Clemson lose this game, then by next season, I do think Dabo's on the hot seat. Okay? Dabo's a year away from being on, in my opinion, to a degree, the hot seat, right? Dabo wins this game. Clemson is right back in the catbird seat, controlling their own destiny to play for and defend their ACC crown. And you're looking at perhaps the most impressive run in that conference in the history of the conference. And oh, by the way, Clemson's still alive for the college football playoff. Clemson at that point, with a win over Florida State, would also be a favorite over Notre Dame at home, right? Think about how much the legacy of Dabo is affected by the events of tomorrow too. It's incredible. Really is something to behold. Texter says, Mark, Velveeta shells and cheese all day. That is liquid gold, man. Diesel, do you like Velveeta shells and cheese? Is that part of the trash to you, or do you like that?
It's trash. No. Trash. If your ingredients are shells, powdered cheese, and water, GTFO with that.
No. You're thinking of the wrong product, Diesel. The shells and cheese have the liquid cheese in the pouch. It's not powdered anyway.
Oh, so you mean not real cheese? You mean fake pouched cheese?
It's pouched.
It's not real cheese, man.
Oh,
Stop
good.
with that. It's not real cheese.
It's
loaded up with salt and sugar and preservatives and junk. Mad Kraft has got a problem with my mac and cheese take.
As should everybody.
All this trash mac and cheese is banished forthwith from my kingdom.
All right, guys. Listen, I'll still be an American with you guys here today. I'll still claim macaroni and cheese with you, because if I was having my last meal and eating whatever the hell I wanted to eat, allergies, gluten intolerance be damned, chicken fingers and mac and cheese would absolutely be on the menu. A full plate of both, please. Let's make it happen. All right, my friends, coming up next on the show, there are some incredible NFL statistics that I have got to place, that I've got to share with you, and we'll do it next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's the same thing, right? Let's see here. When you have a great offense and a great defense, special teams is key. Clemson has to make field goals and PATs to win. Yeah, Jonathan White's the walk-on kicker that was the backup kicker the last few years to BT Potter. Dabo called him this week, was about to start a job in New York City, called him out of retirement. Can you come back and kick? I didn't know you could do that. Like, I didn't know those were the rules, that if you have eligibility remaining, you can be called up to the team at any time. I didn't know what the rules were. Dabo's done that. We'll see if Jonathan Whites can make some kicks this week. Dabo said he looks really, really good in practice here in the early going. I got a couple of stats that I wanted to share with you guys about the NFL here. And each of these tells a story. Dak Prescott, who lost Trayvon Diggs for the season yesterday, is 22-25 against teams that finished a season with a winning record. Okay? That's his record as Dallas's quarterback. 22-25 against teams that finished their season with a winning record. He also has a 68 rating. Okay? So scale of 1 to 100, he's at 68. What is that, a D plus or an F? Against top 10 defenses. All right? Against top 10 defenses. And Jalen Hurts, my friends, how about this? Philadelphia is 15-1. All right? 15-1 under Jalen Hurts in games in which they rush the ball 30 times. 15-1. What does that tell you? I'd have given anything to watch Tim Tebow play in the offense Jalen Hurts is getting to play with right now, playing right now. But when Tebow played, the kind of offense you needed to play to win with him was before his time, right? Now, and Tebow will be the first to tell you this, now the NFL is so much more suited to his style of play. Now half the teams in the league have zone read concepts. When Tebow played, the coaches wanted Aaron Rodgers. Now they're open to having Jalen Hurts. That style of play, man, I will tell you this, though. They need to outlaw that that Hurts push crap. You know, it's called the Bush push play. Remember, USC did it against Notre Dame. There's no stopping that. You know, you have a guy who can squat 500 pounds in Jalen Hurts behind an offensive line, and then you've got two fullbacks behind him pushing him when he sneaks. Nobody can stop that. Like, the physics of that are not possible to stop. And when you have something that cannot be stopped, okay, you got to look at making a change there. The NBA did it when Shaquille O'Neal was in the league. The NBA came up with rules that made it possible to defend Shaquille O'Neal because he was too big, too fast, too strong, too mobile to defend in the low block. So the NBA devised rules to make it somewhat possible. The combination of Jalen Hurts' leg strength, their great offensive line, and then two running backs pushing him from behind, you can't stop that. What do you guys say? It's got to be outlawed, right? It's most definitely has to be outlawed. All right, my friends, we've got the top 5 at 5 coming your way next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan of.
Feel the satisfaction that you get right in here.
That's what it means to be an offsider. Are you bold enough for truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
Then this show is for you.
What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. You've got a lot of choices out there for your sports media consumption. We truly do appreciate you making us one of your choices, and we will never take you for granted. Coming up in this hour, we've got Cole Bryson joining us. Get your questions in for Cole Bryson right now on the carpro.com text line 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. Get your questions in for Cole on high school football week 5. 5:40 p.m. is the time we've been waiting for. That is when Diesel and I will make our wise guys wisdom picks for this week. We go official, picking the biggest games over the course of the weekend. Mostly college, a few NFL. That's how we do what we do. If you can't hear the Wise Guys Wisdom Picks live, we know that you're going to want to know who we're picking in the games this weekend. All you have to do, okay, all you have to do is download the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Bring up today's show. Go to the 5 o'clock hour, 5:40. It'll be right there. You can also do that on the website, or maybe, just maybe Diesel will post the pick segments. You never know. You never know. All right, my friends, it is time for us to do that jam. We call it the top 5 at 5. The top 5 biggest sports stories of the day, the top 5 topics we're discussing. Ladies and gentlemen of the Upstates, Offsiders, the top 5 at 5 starts right now.
And now, the top 5 at 5.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hit it.
5.
You know, there's not many odds that point against the Atlanta Braves having a very, very memorable and historic postseason. And I wasn't doing this exercise today to try to find one, but I just might have. You see, folks, I like to study winners, okay? I study winners in life, okay? I study winners in sports. I like to see what are the commonalities. those who have been really successful at hosting sports radio shows. I study what they do, right? I study winners. And over this millennium, right, this century, 21st century, to win the World Series, you had to meet almost every single year the following prerequisite. Your offense had to average over 5 runs a game, and your pitching staff needed to have a team ERA under 4. Now, a team ERA under 4 isn't great, but it's good, right? Only the best offenses, year after year, average more than 5 runs a game scored. And I'm looking at the FanGraph odds to win the World Series, and the Atlanta Braves have twice as good of odds of the next best team in terms of winning it all, which they list as the Houston Astros as having the next best odds to win the World Series. So the Astros better worry about just making the playoffs first, okay? I mean, seriously. They've got the Mariners and the Rangers nipping out their heels. When you consider that the Blue Jays are right in it as well, the Astros right now can assume nothing. So the Braves are a heavy favorite to win the World Series. So what's the problem? They don't meet that criteria. They don't. The Braves do average over 5 runs a game, but the Braves' team ERA is not under 4. Here's the good news. It's barely above 4 at 4.01, okay? They could get that bad boy down to 3.99 by the end of the year. Then you meet that criteria. But, folks, the criteria is so darn accurate, you want to make sure you meet it because there are 2 teams this year in MLB who do. The Houston Astros, the aforementioned Houston Astros, and the Tampa Bay Rays, who have found their footing again after getting off to a scalding hot start to start the year and then hitting the doldrums of summer, dog days of summer. They found their footing yet again. The other thing is Atlanta also isn't the only team who's close. Baltimore has a 4.02 ERA, and they meet the runs scored per game criteria, right? The Dodgers have a 4.06 earned run average as a team, and they meet the runs scored criteria. You don't want to be missing that criteria if you're the Atlanta Braves, because if you've studied winners as I have in Major League Baseball, you know that is bloody accurate. Next up.
4.
All right. At number 4 today, we cannot underestimate the importance of the game between the South Carolina Gamecocks and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Okay? We cannot state enough how important this game is. Any single model for the Gamecocks that has them winning 7, 8, 9 games this year has them winning this game. For if they don't, at Tennessee is next up, followed by Florida, followed by at Missouri, followed by at Texas A&M. You win this game against Mississippi State, you're still alive. Staying alive, you're still staying alive if you win this game. Then you look at the next 4, you say, okay, 3 out of the 4 are on the road. Let's split those. We'll be 4-4 after 8 games, and then let's close strong just like we did a season ago. But, folks, that all goes to hell in a handbasket with a loss to Mississippi State, all right? And something has got to give. You know, Will Rogers, Mississippi State's quarterback, was on everybody's all-SEC preseason teams. He was either number 1 or number 2, all-SEC team or all-SEC second team. But Mississippi State right now has the worst offense in the SEC. Is that Will Rogers or Mr. Rogers back there? You know what it is, sadly? It's the lack of Mike Leach. You know, if Mike Leach was still with us, that offense would be top 3 in the SEC. No one got more out of less than Mike Leach. What happens when you remove the genius? Well, the subpar talent that Mississippi State has always had can now not be masked. And that's the problem. So what gives tomorrow in Williams-Brice Stadium because the Gamecocks are last in the SEC in total defense and the Bulldogs last in total offense. Next up.
3.
At number 3, do not forget, my friends, that it is your chance right now, your last chance, to get your upset picks in for the week. Have you gotten your upset picks in today? Let's update you on the standings right now. Brandon G is in 42nd place with 0.5 points. I'm in 41st with 33.5. Dwayne M, Mater, Notre Dame Nate, Reese, Notre Dame Nate all have 4 points. Reese Davis from College Game Day has 5, as does John R. and Isaac A. In 31st place, Tiger fan Clint, Gold Rush, UNC Chris, and Desmond Howard all have 6. Tied for 25th, Spur Daddy, Shannon Burke, Pat McAfee, Rodney Mintz, John Corley, and our friend Josh Pate, all with 6.5. Tied for 22nd place, we have JC, Wolverine Joe, and Kevin Buggs with 7. Tied for 19th place, we have Tyler B, Mark L.O. Ducks, Scotty Mack with 8. In 17th place, we have Jeff R with 10 points. Tied for 15. 15th, we have Just Jess and Matt Kraft with 11.5. In 14th place, it's Sherb with 13 points. In 13th place, it's Roger Carper with 13.5 points. The biggest jump of the week was seen by Justin L. He now has 14 points in 12th place. Now for our top 10. Delvin and E. Thoughty are tied with 15 points. We have a 4-way tie for 6th place. Buckeye Brian, Will G, Minor 49er, and Nathan R. all have 18.5 points. Dan B is in 5th place with 19 points. He's been kind enough to put the standings together for us. Delano, the truck driver's in 4th place with 24 points. The Leprechaun of Lyman is on the medal stand. He's in 3rd place with 25.5. Kyle D's in 2nd with 26.5. And our leader right now is Brandon, kind of running away with this thing. Clear of the field by 7.5 points. He's got 34 points. Keep in mind that 50 points, right around 50 points, is normally the number that wins this thing at season's end. Brandon is on record-setting pace. You've got until 7 p.m. today to get your upset picks in via the carpro.com text line 71307 to start your text with the word fan, and away you go.
And he's got how many right now?
34.
34. Even if he gets every pick wrong, he'll end up with a minimum 24 points.
Yeah.
24, minimum.
Yeah.
And
good, right?
24 is usually pretty dang good.
If he just remembers to make his picks, he's in a great spot.
Ooh, that's the game changer there.
That
You
is.
forget to make a pick, you lose 2.
That's it. Next up,
2.
we've shared with you some really intriguing NFL stats today. How about the fact that Jalen Hurts is 15-1 in games in which Philadelphia rushes the ball 30 times? How about the fact that Dak Prescott is 22-25 as Dallas quarterback against teams that finished a season with a winning record? And he's just got a 68 rating his last 3 games against top 10 defenses. All right. How about those 2 interesting stats for you? And how about this? Always like to save something for you as well. Kirk Cousins, in his time in Minnesota, is 12-38 against teams that made the playoffs that season. 12-38. That's 12 out of 50. That's a 24% winning percentage when he plays a team that makes the playoffs that season. How about that? And finally,
1.
folks, who is going to carry the torch in the All Cupcakes Conference? Because at this time tomorrow, we will know that answer. I will be in Death Valley tomorrow, and the importance of this game cannot possibly be overstated. You can give me an adjective of how important this game is, and I'll tell you it's more important than that. Does Clemson still run the ACC, or do the hated Florida State Seminoles? For if there's one thing that can make us allies, Clemson and Florida fans that have never played, Clemson has never played Florida, make it make sense, is a unified hatred for Florida State. They must be destroyed, and they must be destroyed tomorrow. And I'm relying on this color, orange, to save the day and carry the day for both Clemson fans and Florida fans who share this unified vision. Clemson has won this game 7 times in a row. Cade Klubnik completes just 38.2% of his passes under pressure, but opposing QBs have completed just 52.1% against Clemson. Over the last week, Clemson has seen their chances of winning this game go from 26% to 43%. The question is why? Is it because Florida State looked mediocre last week against Boston College? Is it because Jordan Travis's shoulder is a little jacked up? Is it because Clemson's talent is generally maturing? I say yes to all of the above, but I will close with this. I better not hear anyone say again that Florida State is on upset alert. You're playing in Death Valley. When you're playing in Death Valley, that is no upset. The upset is if Clemson loses at home. Okay? You determine your expectations, not Las Vegas. Okay? Nobody playing, the Pittsburgh Steelers playing in Death Valley. It's an upset if Clemson loses. Okay? Have that mindset, believe that mindset. It'll help your team tomorrow. And oh, by the way, give your team tomorrow all you got. If you still have a voice on Sunday morning, you weren't loud enough. Our picks coming up at 5:40 p.m. this afternoon. Those are today's top 5 at 5. Now it's your chance to chime in, which you can do at 844 FANFONE. That's 844-FAN phone. That's 844-326-3663. The CarPro.com text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan and away you go. You can get to us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube at The Fan Upstate on every one. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to us on YouTube. And finally, email. You guys can all email the show. Mark Ryan, that is M-A-R-C Ryan at thefanupstate.com. All the different ways you can get in touch with us here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. We've got Cole Bryson joining us next to help preview the high school football Week 5 action. Get your questions in for Cole right now. That's next, and this is the most interactive sports show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate.
Hey, you guys who stuck around all the way to the end of the stream, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations to Madcraft, who just chipped in for Birdie. Well, dude, that's like one hell of a birthday gift for yourself to chip in for Birdie on your birthday. Right on, dude. What's up to Trey, who just joined right here at the end of the show. Trey, we appreciate you popping in, even though, we're wrapping things up. Dan B, appreciate you being here. All of you who were here throughout the show today, P Digits, and more, man, we really appreciate it. Again, guys, your assignment is to get more and more people into this stream. So Monday, as we're back doing it again, reacting to the week's worth of football, get your friends in here. If you got a friend who lost a game, send him the link so that we can, make him feel bad about himself and about his fandom. If you got a friend who won, send him the link so that we can, talk good about him and make them feel good about us. So appreciate it, guys. We'll be back on the stream on Monday.
See you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.